574 episodes. My first volleyball player yesterday, and then you're my first softball player. So
First of many, I hope.
yeah. So my first question to you is, when did you get interested in playing softball, and who was your biggest influencer in that?
Yeah, definitely my dad. So my dad played baseball, basketball in college. He played at UMass. And I have a twin brother. So as soon as I could walk, he pretty much had us running and playing sports. So definitely gravitated towards the sports that my dad played, like basketball and baseball at the time, and eventually softball, and just kind of fell in love with the game. I mean, it's a sport that has everything. It's teamwork. It's also individual. It's skill, and it's also being athletic. So I just think it kind of encompasses all the best parts of sports, and I truly just fell in love with it.
So who did you look up to while growing up in women's softball? Was Jenny Finch one of them, or?
Yes, I feel like Jenny Finch is somebody that most softball girls, especially girls my age, look up to. I mean, when I started, I was a pitcher, so she was definitely someone I really admired. But then as I got older, I started to learn the game a lot more. It's definitely been televised more, which is awesome. And you get to see all the girls in the College World Series, which is so fun to watch, So I love some of the big hitters. Like when I was growing up, I saw Lauren Chamberlain. She played third base. She was a great hitter. She still plays. Just seeing a bunch of girls who just had so much fun being out there. I mean, I remember watching Jessica Mendoza play, and now she's an analyst for the MLB. So definitely, I love that it's still on TV. There's some girls, like I play it now, and there's still girls who are playing that I still look up to, who I think are just absolute ballers. Like Samantha Show, she's so fun to watch. So there's a lot of girls they're really inspiring. I love just seeing female athletes perform.
How about Amanda Scarborough?
Oh yeah, no, definitely great catcher. She's killing it. She's thriving. So definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. So explain to me. I want to talk about your high school career, and did they make you play multiple positions in softball, or you played only one position, or are you like a versatile player? And what did you learn from your high school experience and from your players and coaching staff?
Yeah. So for me, growing up, I was a pitcher. And then until I'd say through 9th, 10th grade, I was a pitcher / infielder, but really wanted to get recruited for pitching. And then my junior year, I tore my ACL, which kind of threw my whole world upside down. And when I went to go back to pitching, it was never really the same. So it was kind of late in the recruiting process, but I was like, okay, I played other positions before. Growing up, when I was in travel ball, my dad was my coach, and he didn't want people to think that he was playing favorite. So if I wasn't pitching, I would either sit the bench or play first. So I guess really late in the careers when I started playing others positions, but because I kind of had to figure it out right after I was injured, I played outfield, I played shortstop, I played second, pretty much wherever my team needed me. So in high school, when I wasn't pitching, I would play shortstop, and then on my travel ball team, I played in the outfield. So getting recruited, I kind of just I would tell coaches, I'm a utility player. I'll play wherever you need. That's pretty much how I got recruited. I knew that if I could be athletic and I could play any position, and honestly with softball, as long as you can hit, you're gonna find your way in the lineup. So I've been a utility player. Now at Fordham, I'm more specialized in outfield, but technically, if you go on my roster, it says I'm a utility player. So
Yeah. So speaking of pitching, obviously in softball, it's weird how you guys pitch underhand, but in the MLB you pitch overhand. But have you ever asked a question to people who are involved in the softball game why you guys throw underhand, and how hard is it to prepare to throw? What did you do for you specifically to throw underhand like that?
So the thing about throwing underhand, and it's called windmill, it's actually better for your shoulder than the baseball pitch. So especially with our ball being bigger and slightly heavier, even though we call it a softball, it's still a little bigger and heavier. So it's better for your arm to do that. That's more of a natural motion than the throwing motion that a baseball player is used to, which is why there's a lot more arm injuries in baseball, especially you have things like Tommy John that aren't as common in softball. So, and we have pitchers like our starting pitcher, when we get to A10s, which is our conference, and when we get to our conference championships, you'll have girls who will pitch 2-3 games in a row, which obviously would never happen in baseball. So it's definitely better for your arm. And I guess to learn how to do it and to prepare how to do it, when you start off when you're younger, I kind of learned it like a clock. So you start from 3 o'clock and you're just working to your snap,
Right.
and then you eventually get to 12 o'clock, he works your snap, and then eventually it's the whole the whole day, the whole 12 hours. So it's I guess it's almost like anything. Once you start doing it at a young age and you get reps and, practice, it gets easier. But I have so much respect for our pitchers now. It's definitely more mentally challenging than physically. I know the highest level I pitched at was high school. And even when I was trying to come back from my ACL injury and I was starting to try and pitch again, I would get so frustrated not being able to throw strikes. And the girls now at my level, at the Division I level and beyond, I mean, they can pinpoint this ball and it's when you think of when you go to throw something and aim something, it's probably easier to aim it like as if you were throwing a baseball, or even just an overhand throw. But for softball to be able to aim a pitch and spin it and still get a call for a strike while making girls swing and miss is just so impressive. And to stay composed as some of these girls, these young women do is just very impressive. So I have a lot of respect for our pitchers.
Yeah. So what was it like just getting an experience just to play every position in high school and learning the different angles of the position and gaining that experience? So what's it like if you get to play all positions, that's how you become a better player. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's the same thing about playing multiple sports to become a better athlete. The more you can learn, the more different positions you put your body in, the better the better you're going to be, especially in a sport like softball where it is a team sport in the sense that in a given play, an outfielder might have to hit an infielder for a cutoff, and then an infielder might throw it to a catcher. And obviously the pitcher and the catcher are involved in every play. So the more you understand each position, the more your own position makes sense. So if I'm playing left field, but I've had experience playing shortstop, I know what it's like for them to field a cutoff. I know what it's like for them to have a ball go up in the air in between us. So if I have a better appreciation for that position, it's going to make my job a lot easier. And I think it's the same thing like I said. I think it's super important that people play a lot of different sports when they're younger. I know now there's kind of a trend where you see more kids kind of specializing in one sport at the age of like 6 or 7. But I think honestly, the more sports you play, the better, the more athletic you're going to be. The less chance of injury. Like I know I grew up playing soccer, basketball, softball, and I think all of that helped me so much. I mean, even softball is I would say more of a skill sport than speed and strength skill sport as in like basketball or soccer or even football. But the foot skills I learned from soccer helped me in running the bases and, hip flips in the outfield and that kind of thing. So I feel like the more you do is always better.
Yeah. So before we get to your college career, so yesterday the volleyball player I had on yesterday, she said that she tore her ACL also. So this is the same question I'm going to ask you. What did you do to get ready for the season and come back from the injury? And did anyone give you any advice? Whoever had the same injury in different sports, have they given you advice, or what? And also, what did you do to come back from the injury?
Yeah. So my injury story is kind of crazy. So I tore my ACL my junior of high school. It was the first time I'd ever been injured. I never even sprained an ankle or anything. It was the first major injury I ever had. So it was definitely a huge learning experience. And I kind of had the unfortunate experience where I actually tore my meniscus my senior year, came back freshman year of college, tore my meniscus again, and then sophomore year had to sit out another year because I tore my meniscus a third time. And in my surgery for my meniscus the third time, my doctor told me after that my ACL graft was stretched out. And so I had the option. I could either rehab again for a year or they could do another ACL surgery. And I was like, nope, I've had enough. 4 surgeries is good enough for me. So I chose to rehab. And I think what I've learned throughout all my rehabs is it's truly a process. And I think going through something like a serious injury, and I've had teammates who have gone through similar injuries. I have a teammate right now who's recovering from hip surgery. So we all talk and we're all there for each other. But anyways, it is a process and you just have to take it day by day. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days, but you really just have to begin with the end in mind. You got to have that end goal and just keep working towards it and know that it's the little things. So you go to PT and they have you doing 20 reps of a bodyweight exercise, and it may seem like it's pointless, but in the end, that's all just little building blocks to a bigger picture. So, it's all the cliches, embrace the little victories, keep an open mind. I think, and honestly, leaning on other people, it's not something you can do alone. A professional athlete couldn't go through a serious injury alone. You have to lean on friends, coaches, trainers. I know I've been really lucky with all the trainers I've had. You know, they are more than just there to be there for me physically and to help me physically. They're there for me mentally. Like I know during my second or my third surgery, so my first one at college, obviously I was devastated. You know, I just wanted to play. I mean, I was at college to play, and here I am having to sit out again. So my trainer then was super awesome, super helpful, and she kept talking to me. And just the fact that she would check in on me, not just physically, but she'd be like, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, I know this is hard. Where are you at mentally? Let's talk about it." And she would take the time to hear me out. And she knew it was frustrating, but she kept me motivated, kept me positive. So I guess when I talk to other people who are going through injuries, you know, it's the same things. It just, you know, I'm here for you, and I know it's hard, but you're going to come back stronger than ever. You're going to learn from this. You're going to grow from this. And I really think going through an injury helps you on later in life. It teaches you how to overcome an obstacle. You know, it teaches you how to persevere. I've used it in job interviews. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's silver linings. There's always a silver lining.
Has any like players given you advice who had the same injury from different sports or?
Maybe not from different sports. I know I've had trainers who have just kind of, you know, told me the same kinds of things. You know, be positive, focus on the little things. It's going to get better. When I tore my ACL my junior year, I didn't know anyone else who had torn their ACL, so that was kind of, I guess I was a deer in the headlights kind of thing for me. I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how to handle it, but you know, like I said, my trainers were there for me. Everyone was there for me. My dad tore his ACL when he was in college, so but back then it was crazy. It's so much different now. I mean, he played so long ago, like 30 years ago. So back then he was like, yeah, I tore my ACL. I stayed in the hospital for a week. I was in and out in like 3 hours. So it was a much different experience, but having him there too, because he knew what I was going through. And sometimes it helps to have someone else who gets what you're going through and knows how it feels. So he was also really helpful.
So now getting to your college career, how many offers did you have coming out of high school, and what made you led to choose Fordham University?
So again, my recruiting process was a little weird. I originally committed to George Washington University when I was a sophomore, and I love the coach, I love the program, love the school. But it was one of those things where I chose the program because of the coach, which I would recommend athletes don't do. But going to my junior year, the coach that I committed under left, and a new coach came in. And the new coach at the time was like, hey, I haven't seen any of you guys play. I'm not going to honor your verbal commitment, so pretty much good luck. Now, at the time, I had just torn my ACL, so I knew I was going to be missing travel ball, I was going to be missing recruiting. So I kind of freaked out, started emailing all the coaches I'd ever contacted, all the schools that I had been interested in before, basically asking if there was any way that anyone had any open spot, even a walk-on spot. And my old pitching coach, actually, she was a pitching coach at Fordham in 2012. So she was like, hey, I know you're not pitching anymore, but let me reach out to the coach. She just had a girl who transferred out, so they might have an open spot. She reached out to her on a Monday. This was like fall of my senior year, so that's late for softball recruiting. She reached out to her on a Monday. I heard from the coach on a Tuesday, and I flew to New York on a Thursday. So it happened super fast. Went there, loved the campus, absolutely fell in love with it as soon as I walked on the campus. I'm from North Carolina, and I knew I wanted to go to a city. I wanted to get away from the South and the suburbs, wanted to try something new. So I was already looking at cities. You know, GW was in DC, so I was considering DC, Boston, and New York. And you know, I came to New York, fell in love with it, knew there was a lot of opportunities. I wanted to do sports broadcasting eventually, and I knew that would be a great place to do it. So I ended up committing that day, and thank God I did, because it was the best decision I ever made, because I've loved it here ever since. So the school is amazing, the team's awesome, and at the time I didn't know much about A10 softball, but Fordham is, they're the queens of the A10s. I mean, we've won it 7 years in a row now, so it was pretty cool to come onto a program that, you know, is a winning program, which if you're going to a mid-major, sometimes it's hard to find, but it's definitely been such a blessing in my life, and I'm truly lucky that I found it.
Yeah, so I have a couple of friends that go to Fordham University. Actually, my friend Hannah Misery, she played basketball there.
Yes, yeah. She graduated the year before I came in, I think.
Yeah, so she went to the same high school as me, and I've been good friends with her. And obviously, she's a talented athlete, and she can score the ball. And she reminds me of Serena Iescu from WNBA. And And she's really inspiring, Hannah. So yeah.
Yeah, she there was a fifth year Lauren Quince. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but she was a fifth year my freshman year, and she was like best friends with Hannah. So I've met her a few times now. She was a baller. She was a baller.
So I gotta ask you this. So since you're in Fordham University, Michael Kay is a Fordham University alum. So I'm a Yankee. I'm a big Yankee fan over here in Jersey, and obviously he's a voice of the Yankees. And have
Hmm.
you connected with him in Fordham?
Um, so I work for WFUV, which is the radio station at Fordham, and I work in the sports department, which is where Michael K came from. So I haven't met him personally. I have met Mike Breen, who's the voice of the Knicks and a lot of the NBA. So that was cool. I did a workshop with him, and I've met a lot of cool and famous people through WFUV. Haven't met Michael K yet, but that'd be really cool. Um, no, and that's I when I came to Fordham, I didn't even know about the radio station, but a lot of kids come here for that, and it's helped me so much in my career. Like they've let me uh, help host shows. You know, I've gone to work behind the scenes, met a lot of really cool people. So yeah, it's definitely it's. I had no idea about the program, but yeah, Michael K, Mike Breen, a lot of cool people come out of WFUV.
Yeah, actually, me and my friends, we met Michael Kay a couple times
Wow,
in the charity events. They do this ESPN charity events and softball charity events too. So I met Michael Kay, Don LaGreca, the whole crew.
wow,
We met Peter Rosenberg too. He's another great one there.
yeah,
Yeah, so
wow, that's awesome.
yeah, actually, I interviewed a couple of their crew members on the show too. So
Oh, really? Like who?
what's Kyle Williams and some of the producers, and then
Yeah.
I had Willie Colon on my show, Damian Woody. I'm still trying to get. I'm trying to actually. I'm still trying to get Jenny Finch on, but it's tough to get.
That'd be so cool. She's big though. She's big.
Yeah, but yeah, I've out of all the 574 episodes I've done so far, 30. I think 30 ESPN people and then 30 NFL Network people have been on the show.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. So my next question to you. So what's your experience like at Fordham so far as a softball player, and what's it like playing against a big time competition and competing on a high level? And obviously Fordham is a big time college now too, in all sports. But what's it like just playing there with your teammates and coaching staff?
Yeah, it's been awesome. So, Fordham, because they do win so much and we do so well in our conference, we've gotten to play a lot of cool teams in our preseason, especially it being in New York. It's cold, obviously, so we don't even play in the Bronx until end of March, mid-March. So we travel the first 4 or 5 weeks, and we've gotten to go some really cool places. My freshman year, we played Alabama, UCLA, USF. We played a bunch of cool teams. For regionals, we went to Seattle, played Washington there. We went to LSU, played LSU, which was really cool. We played Houston last year. We played Cal. You know, we've gotten to go a lot of cool places, play a lot of cool teams, and it's amazing because, like I said, I grew up watching college softball on TV, and I used to see these girls, see these teams, and be like, oh, it'd be so cool to be these girls one day. Like they're so good, they're so cool. And here I am, and I'm playing them. Like I'm shaking hands at the end of a game with these girls I admired. Like I know my freshman year, going down the line, Rachel Garcia was Player of the Year before for UCLA, and I literally was hitting against her. I mean, I grounded out, but at least I didn't strike out. But the fact that I was like shaking hands with her in this, on the same playing field is just mind blowing. It's such a dream come true. And Fordham is really cool because it is a mid-major. It's technically a smaller school, but we do get all these opportunities that a lot of other schools don't have. With Corona this year, not sure if we're going to get to travel as much, but we've gotten to go to some really cool places, play some really cool teams, which has been awesome. And the competition is, I mean, if you're a competitive athlete, if you're at the Division I level, you want to play the best of the best, and we get to do that here. So, no, it's been really awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of, are you back in campus or still home?
No, we're in campus. We just finished our third week of team practice, so it's weird. It's definitely not normal. We started late. We didn't start till end of September. Normally we start right when we get back. And I have, out of my 4 classes, only 1 is in person, and some of my teammates don't have any classes in person, which is definitely an adjustment. But we're making it work. We're finding a way. I know we wear a mask when we're at practice, in the weight room, at conditioning. Luckily with softball, it's a pretty socially distant sport. You're kind of set up or over 6 feet apart already, so it hasn't been too bad. And Fordham's been good. Athletes have to get mandatory testing every 2 weeks, and then we have temperature check every morning. You can't go onto the field, you can't go to practice unless you have your temperature checked. So they're doing what they can. They're trying to, it's something we don't know a lot about, and it's something that's very hard to control, but Fordham's doing the best they can. They want us to be able to play. They want us to be able to have a season. So hopefully we find a way to make it work in the spring.
Yeah. So for you, what have you been doing training wise, just during this tough time? And obviously you're back on campus, so which means you obviously doing practice. But when you're in the gym yourself or with your teammates, what do you guys do train just to get ready for the season for next year?
Yeah, so over the summer was probably the biggest challenge I've had as an athlete as far as training, because I went back to North Carolina and North Carolina was shut down. I mean, it's still shut down. My gym wasn't open the entire time. My softball field wasn't open until the last maybe 2-3 weeks. And because of, you can't just go meet up and hang out with a bunch of different random people. So it was basically just me and my dad. We have a pitching machine. I'm lucky enough to have a pitching machine. So I spent a lot of time just hitting off that, throwing into a wall, a lot of body weight workouts, like things that you kind of thought you were grown out of, like burpees and push-ups and sit-ups. You end up spending a lot of time doing that, which is much different than, squatting with a barbell or doing like chin-ups and things you're used to doing in a weight room at school. So that was certainly an adjustment, but I think our team is very committed, and we're all dedicated. We all want to win. So I think, if there's anything we can do to give us a competitive advantage, we're going to do it. So if that means, you're sprinting in a parking lot because you can't get on track, you're going to sprint on a parking lot. If that means, you got to squat a backpack full of books, you're going to squat a backpack full of books. So I think we all did a good job of holding each other accountable over the summer and just doing what we could, doing what we could basically to stay in shape and stay in softball shape. And then coming back here, it's been awesome because we have our facilities. We don't share a field with anyone, so we get to use our field. We practice. Practices are like, it's pretty much like it's normal. We had started with individuals. Now we've been scrimmaging. We have enough for inter squad now, so we've had a few inter squads, which has been really fun. Because most of us haven't seen live pitching since February, March, so that's been really fun. In the weight room, we're back to our normal lift. We just started. We've maxed out. We've been maxing out bench and squat the past week, so that's been fun. But it's starting to feel normal, which is really nice, and I'm just hoping that normalcy continues into next semester.
So obviously the coaching staff have to wear masks during practices, but do you guys wear masks too, or?
So it's kind of confusing. So if you're in the dugout, you have to wear a mask. If you're waiting on the side anywhere, you have to wear a mask. If you're playing your position, you can take it off. And if you're hitting, you can take it off, but they kind of want you to keep it either like you can pull it down briefly or you can put it in your pocket because they want you to put it back on pretty quick. But we've been pretty good about it. At the end of the day, we want to play. So we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that none of us get sick and we don't, put anyone else get danger, don't put anyone else in risk. So we've been trying to do the best we can with wearing masks. Like even in the weight room, we wear masks when we lift, which is, it's challenging, but again, it's worth it. So, you don't have to wear it when you're in action, but any other time you gotta try and keep it on.
So my next question here, obviously, volleyball and softball, they're not leagues, but do you think softball should consider being a league just like the NFL, MLB, NBA? Because I feel like volleyball and softball they're watchable sports, and I feel like you guys can get high ratings. So do you think softball should be a league for not only so after college you have the opportunity to still play the game you love?
So they actually started a league this kind of a weird time to start it, but during quarantine. It's called Athletes Unlimited, and it is like a pro softball league, except they do the scoring a little differently. So it's almost like a fantasy league where the individual players get points based on how they do, and then the teams kind of rotate. So that was cool because they did get viewers. They got people to watch, and college softball always does so well on TV, and they get these high ratings. They always outperform, college baseball, a lot of the other college sports. And they're getting into the millions now in viewers. So the audience is there, the more you put it out there, the more you market it, the more people are going to watch, and they're going to follow along. I've had random people who I've met, either we're out to eat or we're in a hotel, and they're like, oh, you play softball? Oh, I watched the College World Series on ESPN. And I think the more, and it's true, the more it's out there, the more people are going to watch it. So I think having a league is awesome. I think, this new Athletes Unlimited League, I think it's going to be a really cool thing, especially when they can have fans and we're in less of a confusing time. So hopefully that league builds. And I do think volleyball as well. I think there should be more professional women's sports leagues. I mean, look at the U.S. women's soccer team.
Yeah.
They outperform the men's team significantly, and they had the whole battle with equal pay, and rightfully so. I mean, they were making less than the men's team, who they were getting more views in, they were winning more, they were doing better. They had more sales. So I think people want to watch, if it's out there, if it's on TV, if the coverage is there, I think people are going to see it. I mean, even with the WNBA, their numbers were up, especially. I think the more you highlight individual players, which that's what's worked for the NFL and for the NBA. That's why they do so well. They really highlight. They get these storylines. They have the players that people want to follow. So, with Sabrina Ionescu, and you mentioned her earlier, her coming in. I mean, her jersey, she sold out her jersey within like a few days. That never happens in the WNBA. So the more you have these cool players, these all-stars, people these individuals that people can fall in love with, I think that's going to be great for women's sports.
Yeah, so you just segued into my next question, which is women in sports, and what's it like for you, especially for yourself and your teammates, and all these other women getting an opportunity to play the game and being on and then being televised, which is important for you guys too, and also women's coaching male sports. So what's it like seeing that now in this generation? And I'm happy I'm really inspired what I'm seeing with all the women getting opportunities now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. Growing up, like my dad pushed me into sports at a young age. My dad's always been super supportive of female sports, which I think is really important, having like a role model like that, seeing, a male who played sports say, oh, women's sports deserve all the love too. Females are strong. They're athletic. Like, we can play sports too. And I think we've been proving that. I love seeing the growth. Times are changing, and I think people are becoming more accepting. You've got female coaches in the NFL and in the NBA and MLB. Even not even just the coaching perspective, but Jessica Mendoza just became the first female to be an analyst for a World Series game. So you have women breaking into the industry, and it's really good to see. And the more these women are able to be successful and prove that they belong and prove that they're just as deserving as their male counterparts, they're serving as pioneers for future females. So the better Jessica Mendoza does, the better that is for me. The better that somebody who graduated a year before me does, the better that is for me. The better female athletes do in these positions, the better female athletes do as coaches, the more doors are going to open for future women in sports. And I think I can't emphasize enough how important it is. I think girls should be involved in sports at a young age. I mean, you're seeing, I think something that's really sad is if you look at participation rates for sports in high school for girls versus guys, and it's not even close. How guys will finish out 4 years, and I think it's like a 6% difference between girls who don't finish high school sports because for a number of reasons. One is they don't think it's going to help them in the future, and I think that's sad because there are so many opportunities for girls to get involved in sports. I mean, most of the young women on my team, we want to do something with sports in our careers, and playing college softball is going to help us do that. So I love seeing it. Long answer short, I love seeing it, and I fully support women in sports in any element, in any position.
Yeah, it's just I'm hoping for Becky Hammon. I need to see Becky Hammon to be the first NBA women's coach, and
that'd be awesome.
She deserves it, and she's obviously one of the best WNBA players ever to play the game. So I'm hoping she gets her opportunity to be in the NBA first NBA female coach. Hopefully it happens soon. But my next question to you, if you guys do have a season in spring, and what are you most looking forward to the season with your teammates, and what is your own goals for the season?
Yeah, so first of all, we want the season. That's like our first little like preseason goal is to just nobody get COVID. Let's keep the numbers down. But during the season, we set our bar high, and we didn't get a chance to go for our 8th in a row last year because our season got cut short. So we want that 8th in a row ring. We want to keep the streak alive. We always say that, a legacy has been built for us at Fordham, and we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We have a legacy to preserve, so we want to get that ring. That's first and foremost. That's number one. But another goal for us is we've made it to the regionals every time we win our conference, and we want to make it out of that first round of the regionals. My sophomore year, I was injured, but our team made it to regionals. We made it to the regional finals against Washington, who was number two in the country, I believe, and we lost the game by 1 run in the last inning. So we're right there, and it would be amazing for our program if we could just make it to super regionals. And like I said, we're right there. We're a super talented team. So it's just going to take one storybook run and we're there. So that's another one goal we have. As far as individual goals, last season was the first season I really played. I mean, if it hadn't got cut short, I would have gotten to play a full season without being injured. So my last weekend was my best weekend I've had. So I really want to build off of that. I'm one of the captains this year, so I really want to focus on being a role model, on and off the field for my teammates. It's more than just stats, and that's one thing I've learned as a player throughout my 4 years here now is that. So at the end of the day, there's more to life than just your batting average. There's more to life than your fielding percentage. So I really want to make a positive impact on the younger girls on my team. I want to be a role model, someone they can look up to. So that's really something I want to focus on this year. And then obviously doing whatever I can to help our team to win, whether, if I'm on the bench, cheering as loud as I can. If I'm in the field, making all the right plays, sacrificing my body, doing whatever I can to get on. I really want to help my team. And my team is my family. I love them to death. So whatever I can do for them, I'm going to try and do.
Yeah. So, so if high school players have an offer from Fordham University, and if they're choosing between other schools, and what would you tell them about Fordham University, and what would you tell them to convince them to join the college?
I've been hyping them up this whole talk, but it's a legacy to be a part of. It's something special. It's very rare that you find a mid-major school like this that's so high academically, and it's such a good school that also has such a good softball program. I mean, we win here. We don't mess around. We want to win. We want to push it to the next level. We're trying to get to super regionals. We're one of those top 30, 40 teams every year. And so if you want to be on a competitive program, this is a place for you. It's a great school. And then honestly, these girls are my family. I mean, out of any team I've ever been on through travel ball, middle school, high school, I've never been as close as I am with the girls on this team. I mean, everyone is truly there for you. We don't have the drama that you hear about so often, especially in a bunch of, in college teams. And it's hard with a group of girls, a group of 18 to 22-year-old girls. There's always going to be drama. But, I mean, this team is really we're a family, and everyone supports everyone. And it's truly special to be around.
So my next question here, so I have actually a couple of my other friends do podcasts also. So I'll send you a couple of my other friends. You can check out their podcasts. And
yeah, awesome.
There's just one you should definitely check out. 14-year-old kid, Global Kid Media. He's interviewed 1,000 people, and he's trying to be the first sideline kid reporter.
Wow.
All sports. So what do you think of the idea of having kids as sideline reporters?
I love it. The earlier the better. I mean, that's awesome for him. If he's 14 and already doing, you know what? He's gonna be set the rest of his life. So, no, I think that's awesome. You see, I honestly think the younger generation is what's changing our country, to be honest. I think our younger generation is so special. I think they're a lot more open-minded than some of the older generations, and I think that with everything we have with technology and with media, like you said, he's 14, he's doing podcasts. I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that you don't see that happening. So we have the resources. If you have the tools, like, start creating at a young age, start building your brand. I don't think you're never too early, never too young to start doing that.
Yeah, so I'll be sending you 8 or 9 of my friends' podcasts so you can check it out.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'd love that.
Yeah, so what advice would you give these young athletes or young kids that are trying to reach their goals?
I don't want to be too cliche, but I'd say one thing. I keep bringing up my dad, but he's had such an impact on my life. one thing he always told me was begin with the end in mind. And what that basically means is if you start a journey, if you start a mission to reaching a goal, you always want to have that goal laid out. So if this kid wants to be the first sideline reporter, first kid sideline reporter, so that's his goal, that's his end. What is he going to do to get there? The next journey should be everything he can to get to that end. So when you start your journey, you have this end goal in mind, and you're going to do whatever you can to get that, you know? So for me, for my team, if our end is winning that 8th ring, all right, we have that, the end is in our mind. Like, how do we begin? What are the steps? We know we want the 8th ring, so we're going to do this at practice. We're going to sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. You know, we're going to eat right. We're going to fuel. We're going to make sure that we're socially distanced and we're being smart. You know, we're just going to do everything we can to reach that end. So that's something that always sticks with me. And then I would say one other thing is another quote, and I think this is a Jerry Rice quote. It's do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. I love that quote. It's something that I've held with me my whole life. So I think those who work hard, they're the ones who end out on top. So, you know, if this kid's already putting out podcasts, if he already has 1,000 viewers, you know, he's going to be able to do tomorrow what other people can't, just because he is already ahead. So I guess those are my 2 pieces of advice.
I'm actually, speaking of Jerry Rice, I'm currently working on getting him on the show. So hopefully.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, and also I'm working on getting Tara Owens too. So hopefully.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm going big.
All-star lineup. It's
go big or go home, right? So.
Exactly.
But so now I do this fun little segment with all my guests that come on the show.
Okay.
Called the rapid fire segment. So you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Oh, Kawhi Leonard's laugh.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? Barbecue. I'm from North Carolina. I love North Carolina barbecue.
Yeah, I got family from North Carolina, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Oh, they're from Raleigh.
From Raleigh?
Yeah.
I live right near Raleigh. I live like Durham, Chapel Hill. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. So speaking of North Carolina, what do you like about their college football team this year? Obviously, they're playing at a high level. Mac Brown has them playing great football.
I know, and they have those 2 running backs. It's crazy. I was looking at the AP poll. I think it was week 5, and I see North Carolina is 5th. Yeah. And growing up in North Carolina, North Carolina football was never in the top 25, let alone the top 10.
The basketball team was always.
The basketball team is amazing. The basketball there is amazing, but football, you'd never see that. So when I saw that, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So, I mean, it is a weird year because not all the teams are playing yet. But hey, if you're gonna have a season, might as well have it be now. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm a Duke fan for basketball, but if any North Carolina team's gonna make the top 25 for football, you know, I'm all for it.
Speaking of Duke, actually, Global Committee, he interviewed JJ Redick on his show.
Oh wow, yeah. That's odd. Doesn't JJ Redick have his own podcast too?
Yeah, I'm been tagging JJ Redick on my podcast. He's been seeing it. The problem is he doesn't answer to myself, so hopefully soon. So
eventually,
at some point, he's gonna answer.
oh, no doubt.
I'm definitely
he's gonna have to.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the podcast because he does a great job with his podcast. So.
Oh yeah, he does. I know. I love it.
Yeah. So my next one here, obviously you said you want to be a sports broadcaster. So where do you see yourself in the next 5-6 years? And do you eventually seeing yourself calling softball games with Amanda and Jenny Finch?
So that's a tough question. I've had to answer a lot recently, being my senior year. But I actually want to do behind the scenes more. So I want to do video production and that kind of thing. But if I had to be on camera, I would love to do it for the NFL, the NBA. We'll see if that happens. You know, anywhere that'll take me, I'm there. I definitely want to work for one of the major leagues. Calling softball would be cool. If I had to do play-by-play or color, I would do it for softball, and I think I would love it. So we'll see. But I think my dream job would be to work for NFL Films. Actually, that would be like my dream job.
Favorite NFL team?
Patriots. I'm a Pats fan, diehard.
You guys lost today, I think. I'm not too sure.
We did. We've been losing. It's not our year.
I'm a Cowboy fan, and we're losing.
Oh wait, you're in the NFC East. That's cool. You could still win your division.
But our defense is horrible this year.
Well, yeah. Now you don't have a quarterback.
We lost both our quarterbacks.
Oh.
So my next one here. What are your thoughts on the World Series so far? Obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, by the way, in Jersey, like I said before. But um, that game, that game yesterday was crazy.
Oh,
How do you let that?
mind blowing.
How do you let that happen?
Oh, as an outfielder, the
Yeah.
anxiety I got from watching the center fielder kick that ball away, oh, it made my heart sink for him. But that play was insane. Even not even just that, but then the catcher missing the ball. You got a Rosarena trips and does like a somersault and still scores. I just think that's World Series baseball for you. You literally never know what's going to happen, and there could be drama at all times. You know, the game can change in a single play. So I think that crazy game, just absolutely mind blowing. And I was on WFV's one-on-one show last Wednesday, and I said Rays in 7. So I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna say Rays in 7. I love a storybook team, you know, and I keep saying they're a small market team going up against the number one biggest market team in baseball. So they have a bunch of no-name players who no one really knew until a few months ago. So I hope they find a way to pull it out.
I got the I got the Dodgers in 7, but I'm
Hmm.
not looking so good. But whoever, all right, let me ask you this: whoever wins this game tonight, do you think they win the series? Whoever wins this game tonight, do they end it in 6 tomorrow?
I don't think so. I think these games have been too close. They're too evenly matched. I think either way they're going to game 7.
Hmm. So what were your thoughts on the NBA bubble and the WNBA bubble in the finals? For
Yeah.
both,
So first of all, I'm kudos to them for being able to finish the season without having any cases, without having to postpone games, without having to reschedule. You know, like we see the NBA have to. I mean, not the NBA. I'm sorry, the NFL have to do. So I'm glad they found a way to do it. You know, I can't imagine what it was like for the players and the staff and even the media who were stuck there in isolation. But I'm glad they found a way to do it. And I think it's cool because the NHL and the NBA and the WNBA all had teams win the championship who, without the bubble and who, without COVID, probably had a legit shot of winning it before. So I don't think you can throw an asterisk on any of these championships. And I think they all deserve to win. And honestly, if to overcome playing in a situation like that in a weird environment and still come out on top, you know, more power to those teams. And as far as the NBA goes, you know, the Lakers with with Kobe and everything, they deserved it. They had to win. You know, I'm super happy for LeBron. You know, I didn't see them. I didn't see them losing. I didn't think there was any way they're going to lose. Now I'm a Celtics fan, so did I want it to be a Celtics Laker final? Yes, but I think the Heat was also a good team to be there. You know, kind of like the Rays. You know, a group of guys who maybe aren't. I mean, Jimmy Butler, yeah, but maybe not all stars. But they found a way to come together. So overall, I think it was really exciting. You know, WNBA as well. A lot of all stars. You know, I love seeing Brianna Stewart with the champagne goggles. I think that was probably one of those badass things I've ever seen. So really fun to watch. Really fun to watch. And I think as a sports fan, it was really good to see leagues come to a happy ending when sports has been so up and down this year.
yeah, especially for the Lakers, when the season stopped halfway for them, and to be able to cap off this season with the championship for Kobe is just amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
What I saw, but speaking of the WNBA, I want to get to an important topic: social injustice. Obviously, Maya Moore started this whole thing, and now
Yes.
Renee Montgomery, she's doing a great job doing that, opting out of the season. Actually, I had the opportunity to interview her on my show back
Oh.
in May, and I interviewed her head coach too, Nikki Collin. And what's it like seeing all these players coming together as a group and trying to solve this situation? And it's just horrible what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was really important that these leagues did happen and they were on television because they had a message to send. And I think it's really important that these athletes who have such a big platform, millions of people are seeing them, millions of people follow them, watch them, whatever they say, they're going to actually hear. So I think it's super important that these athletes keep sending these messages, keep spreading these messages, and keep forcing people to have uncomfortable conversations, because a lot of sports fans who are complaining about it, who are criticizing about it, they want to just watch sports, but that's not the time. This is not the time for that. There's more important things going on in our country and in the world, frankly, that have to come above sports. People's lives are in danger. Civil rights are being completely discriminated against, and that's more important than a sports game. So And I think these athletes are more than athletes. And I think having these messages, even if it's something small, like putting it on a jersey, it's better than nothing. And it's going to force people who maybe aren't as willing to have these conversations, or maybe have more of a closed mind, to kind of consider and kind of at least learn about it and look at it and say, oh, if all these people have this, maybe I should kind of take a look in their perspective, see what it's like in their eyes, try and understand, because 2020, it's as crazy of a year it's been, with this election coming up. There's, yeah, our country's pretty divided right now, and I think one thing that we shouldn't be divided on is that is something like Black Lives Matter. How can you say that those lives don't matter? That's not political, that's human life. So racism is bad, we shouldn't disagree on that. So I think them coming out and putting those messages up is super important.
Yeah. So when you were pitching, when you pitched, do you bring the heat?
Did I bring the heat? For when I was like 14, for 14-year-olds, I was bringing the heat. If I pitched now, I'd probably get rocked. But I was more of a spin pitcher for sure.
Favorite memorable game that you played in high school, and favorite memorable game that you played in Fordham so far in your career?
Okay. In high school, it would probably be my sophomore year. My team that was probably the best team I had in high school, and we ended up winning our conference championship. And I pitched that game, which is really cool. And while pitching, I made the last out, and a girl bunted, and from the pitcher's mound, I sprinted out and dove and caught it. And it was just really cool. That's just such an awesome feeling. Especially as a younger girl, getting to step up. And we had a lot of seniors that year, so getting to see how happy they were, winning that little conference championship was awesome. So that was probably my favorite high school memory. And then college, I would say, I'd say I got 3. So one, my freshman year, when we won our first A10 championship at home, just because you can't replace that feeling, winning an A10 championship and running onto the field, jumping in a dog pile. There's just truly nothing like that. 2, a game that I did play in, because I was hurt. I redshirted my sophomore year in college, but UMass, they're our rivals, and we were playing them in the A10 conference championship, not championship, in the semifinals, but it was the A10 conferences tournament. And we were playing the former pitcher of the year, who we struggled with in the past. We came out, we put 5 runs on her in the first inning, and we were all so committed. We were so in the game. It was the loudest our bench has ever been. There was just another level of energy there. And even though I wasn't even playing, like I was on crutches, but I still loved it, and I still felt so part of the game, and it was just really cool to watch happen. And then 3rd, we actually got to play at Duke my junior year, and I'm from there. So in one of my games, my parents came, my best friend from home came, a girl from my high school, a young girl from my town came. So I had a bunch of family and friends there, and we ended up beating not Duke itself, but we played, I think it was Howard there. I can't remember the team name, but it was at Duke, and I went 3 for 3, had a triple, just had a great game in general, and it was in front of all my family, which was really cool. So that was really special to me.
So when you walk up to the batter's box, what's your walk-up music?
My walk-up song? So I haven't picked one for this year, but in the past I had Fuego by Cheetah Girls. I don't know if you know it, but and then in high school, my walk-up was Ignition by R. Kelly. But I haven't picked my one for this year yet.
Are you gonna pick something current, like hip hop or?
Probably. I usually like to have something kind of funny because it relaxes me. So maybe I'll do a TikTok song. We'll see. I don't know. Whatever I'm feeling in March or February.
So whoever doesn't know about you, what do you bring to the game as a player, as a hitter? Are you a singles? Are you a home run hitter? Or you try to play small ball, or what type of player are you? If people don't know about you.
I would say I'm definitely more of a contact hitter. I'm not swinging for the fences every time, but I don't strike out often. Like I like to just make solid contact. I'm always trying to hit line drives. That would say offensively, and that's just in general as a player. My best attribute, I think the reason I've gotten to where I am is my work ethic. I pride myself on that. It's something that I have full confidence in. Like I know for a fact I'll always be top 3 hardest workers on my team, and if I feel like someone's outworking me, that just pushes me to, pushes me to do more. And I think that comes from my dad, from my family. And so I think my work ethic is definitely probably my best quality.
So have you considered doing a podcast during this pandemic?
Great question. So a girl on my team, she's my best friend, Gigi Spear. We had a podcast last year. We canceled it when Corona came, but we had a podcast. We had about 7 or 8 episodes, which is really fun. And we're actually restarting that podcast in the next week or two. And we kind of make it about being a student athlete. It's called Killing the Game. And it's all about being a student athlete, but it's really fun. It's just something to do. And like you said, podcasting is fun. I mean, you do it. You have over 500 something episodes. So I think we don't even have double digits yet. So hopefully we can try and catch up.
You know what? I want to do a collab show with you one day.
We're making it happen. It's happening.
We're going to make it happen for sure.
Yeah.
But a couple more things here before I let you go. And
yeah.
So this is a question I've been bringing up to all my guests, and about the late Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, Mama mentality, and he was one of my role models growing up. And for you being a daughter, and you, do you remember where you were at that day, and what do they mean to you, and for especially you being a daughter? So.
Yeah. Actually, I ended up writing an article about this for our newspaper, but so that day, I'll literally never forget it. I was sitting with about 6 or 7 of my teammates in our school cafeteria, and a couple of us got a notification on our phones, and it said originally it said TMZ, Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash, and we all thought it was a joke. Like we thought we were like this. It just can't be real. And I remember once we started putting it together and realizing what had happened, we literally sat in that table in silence. No one saying a word. And we sat there for maybe 15, 20 minutes, just absolutely stunned, shocked, heartbroken. I mean, for us, Kobe Bryant, that's for our generation, that he's one of the top 5 greatest athletes, for our generation, and even of all time. I mean, he's inspired so many people, and not just what he does with basketball, but him as a leader, and especially being a female athlete, what he's done for Gigi and WNBA. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu, was one of his prodigies, and he's done so much for female sports, for women's sports. So, and it's Kobe Bryant. It's just one of those names, one of those people that you just think they're flawless. You think that they can't be broken. It's just, you think that they have no vulnerabilities, and so to have something like that happen was just. It was just tragic, and there really wasn't much good that came out of it. I mean, for me, it made me really look at my own relationship with my own father, and think about what it really means to have a girl dad, and what the role that they can play in your life. And I mean, I wrote an article about it, and it really made me emotional at the time, like thinking, seeing just what he had done for Gigi, and all that picture you kept seeing of him and Gigi at the basketball game, him coaching her. And I've had so many moments like that with my own dad, and it really hit home. And I think that was so cool that that's what he should be remembered for, is what he was as a person, and what he was as a father. Not as much as, I mean, obviously he was a great basketball player, but I think his legacy is so much more than that. And I think we should all strive to have that same kind of impact, where our legacy is beyond just what our sports are, or what we can do on a playing field, or even in the professional world, what you do at a professional level. But it should really be about how you touch those around you. So hopefully his legacy, I think it will live on forever, and it inspires others to have that kind of impact on the people around them.
Yeah, especially his daughter Gianna. She was UConn bound, and she could have been the next WNBA star.
Absolutely, it's just so heartbreaking.
And she already had his fadeaway shot too at 13.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Actually, speaking of Mama Academy, I interviewed a 13-year-old girl on my show. Her name is Tatiana Harness. She has her own podcast, and she's a basketball athlete, and she played for Mama Academy. And she played against Gigi, and I asked her the question, What was it like playing against Gigi and learning from her and being at the academy? And she said it was a lifetime experience at 13 years old just to get that experience. She said,
I can't imagine that being coached by one of the greatest players of all time.
yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Favorite NBA team growing up?
Celtics.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said that.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaching, what were your thoughts when the Nets hired Steve Nash and they just recently hired Amari Stoudemire as assistant coach?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked the move. Didn't see it coming. I was thinking like maybe Mike D'Antoni, maybe Ty Lue, but I do like it. I mean, Steve Nash, he was successful, with the Suns. He knows the game, one of the greatest point guards of all time. And I think if you think about who the Nets have, you've got two strange personalities, two all-stars with two strange personalities with KD and Kyrie. So I think it's better to have a player coach, someone who can relate to them and someone they're not going to, especially Kyrie, is not going to get defensive with. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it might take Steve Nash a few years to develop into a coach because he doesn't really have coaching experience, not even at the assistant level. So I think it's an interesting experiment, and I think it's either going to be the best idea the Nets organization has had, or they're going to be looking for a new head coach in about 2-3 years.
I mean, it's interesting they're bringing this Phoenix Suns dynamic duo with Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah.
And you pair him up with KD. The Nets are doing something interesting here that I haven't seen, and I kind of like what they're doing with taking a gamble. I think taking a gamble could work sometimes too.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. So the actually, do you have a nickname?
Do I have a nickname?
Yeah.
I don't have a nickname. My friends and I actually talked about this the other day. I'm one of the few girls on my team who doesn't have a nickname. I know my strength coach will sometimes call me KB, but that's about it. I pretty much just Kelly.
So the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers?
Oh, just thank you so much. What they do is thankless. I mean, there's no words that can say how important everything they're, all that they're doing. I mean, they're risking their lives for us every day, and we're able to do so much because of it. And again, it's truly a thankless act, and we all truly appreciate everything they're doing.
So there it is, episode 574 with Kelly Bright. She's a softball player at Fordham University, inspiring, a talented player, and obviously she has some inspiring goals coming up in her future. And hopefully you guys have a season next spring, and I'll be following you throughout your career. And we got to do that collab show one day.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Yep.
I would like to, when you guys start back up your podcast, I would like to come on your podcast. And
Definitely.
And also, I'm going to send you all my friends' podcasts you can check out. But this has been an honor. Keep up the great work. Keep hustling. Keep grinding. And I'm obviously I'm going to see you in the sports industry as a sports broadcaster. And I can tell who you're going to be like Laura Rutledge.
Oh, that's a huge compliment. I hope. I hope.
I actually, I've been reaching out to her, and she sees my stuff actually too. So hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully she sees this.
I'm going to tag her in this. I'm going to tag, you know who I'm going to tag? Jessica Mendoza, Laura Rutledge. I'm going to tag Amanda Scrowborough, Jenny Finch. I'm going to tag all of them people.
Awesome. Awesome.
And your story needs to be seen more, and the things you do for Fordham University, and obviously a great player too. So, but this has been an honor. So I'll be posting this on all social media formats, and you and your family stay safe.
Thank you. You too. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Anytime. So have a great night and stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.